All right, so YouTube says that we do a good job on our channel of attracting new viewers. Send little emails. Says, remember, new viewers all over your channel. Well, what about the ones, just the new ones? Where about them? Okay. So, they say every time you make a video, act as if you have no one's watched you before. So we do have some repeat viewers, not very many, but we welcome and cherish those. And we are some good ones. And you know who you are. And they know who they are. They don't have to be accoladed. The people that contribute, I mean, the listeners that have contributed actively to the show and do, trying to find ways to get them out here. They don't like getting out like they used to. I'm not saying they're old, but they're set in their ways. I can say that. So I am surrounded by people who are set in their ways, and so trying to be open-minded is difficult. I mean, let's face it. But I am. Try to be fair to everybody, and I know I really do try. But I wanted to introduce the new viewers. But you've seen this cute little depiction of a squirrel. You see, that was I asked my art department to come up with a character as a sidekick. And then they said, don't use a sidekick. And I said, well, I want one anyway. I need an assistant to tell my stories. I wanted a cute little squirrel. I wanted a cute little squirrel. More about that later. It worked for Disney. Ha. No, I just wanted somebody to bounce off of, and I created a character of Elle, the squirrel who loves losers. She loves them. She's fascinated about them. She gets a crush on losers. She likes them. And so when you lose, well, you're going to have to take Elle out to dinner. I mean, that's part of it. She chose you. Represents the losers, but she loves them. She likes underdogs. And she picks a loser, and you're just going to have to live with it. You're going to have your evening with Elle. You've got to wear the L until you can get a W to cover it up. That's how it works. She represents losing. Losing. Understand that. And you'll understand the video. Explain this to people. People don't understand that. You have to tell them what you're doing. Imagine that. So in addition to having to keep Georgia fans informed accurately with real information, whether they like it or not, I like to look at the national picture first, because that's what we're after. The national title, right? Right. But on top of that, I've got to scout for dates for Elle. She's an active squirrel. She likes to socialize. And she's not an expensive, she's not a cheap evening. Well, fortunately for me, she works for peanuts. But in her recreation, she can get kind of expensive. So that evening with the Elle might cost you, folks. So try not to get one. I'm just hoping I don't have to let her date nobody in the family right this moment. We got Alabama coming. There's no reason for Georgia to get an L. None. But do we know that for a fact? We don't. That's the fruit of Mike Bobo. Sorry, I had to say it. That's the line of demarcation. I'm not picking on him. It's just right when he got here, the fun stopped. The fun has never... The arcade that Bobo runs, the Ferris wheel, leaves you at the top with a 3-year-old. You don't ride that thing twice. But we did. You know, when you talk about college football, you have to think about playoffs right off the bat. We seem to have gotten out of that first phase now of just introducing the teams. We've seen everybody a little bit. We've seen enough of most of the teams to know kind of what we got, or have we? Texas, Alabama, Georgia all have showdowns coming in the month of October. So October is the month that we will see how this plays out. So as we progress into that wonderful fall time, we're going to have to see who's dropping out early. Clemson already gone. ACC looks like it's going to be a cakewalk for Miami, but they do have teams like Syracuse that can play. Miami has trap games, and Miami isn't a shoe-in, but I think they are the one program that's capable of playing at any level, NIL level, any level of play. They have a good football team. So the point is, each conference is going to have to establish a front runner who's going to represent them. It's kind of how it's going to be, because the ACC only guaranteed one. But will they get two? Or will they get three? And that's going to be the whole battle until they get it more organized. And so SEC came into the scene probably with 4, 5, or more potential playoff teams. Half the league thought they were going to make the playoffs. Probably 12 teams sold the fans on the idea that they could make a playoff this year. And Vanderbilt thinks they can do it. South Carolina probably doesn't think they can do it now, but they still are mathematically in. The question is it going to go to that guaranteed 4 SEC, 4 Big Ten, and so on, so on? I don't know how it works. It changes so much. But let's assume the SEC is going to get 4 teams in. Do they have any team that's demonstrated what Miami has? Well, on paper, Alabama, Georgia, Texas A&M, maybe Missouri, but not really. They have the talent to go play a Miami and not look like Florida, because Florida isn't a playoff team. Nobody. Well, they actually did say they might make it. I don't think they're thinking playoffs at the moment. So you've already got people falling away. Clemson's out of the picture. I wanted to talk about the South Florida thing and how that ties into SEC dominance. See, the SEC dominated in the decade of the 2000s and 2010 was 20. Most of that decade was SEC rising to dominance. However, in 2004, an undefeated SEC team did not make a 2-team playoff. So, ding, ding, ding. More like 2005. So the last 20 years, we can safely say the SEC was a dominant conference, and it wasn't close. It wasn't close. Is that the case now? I don't think so. But as the NIL redistributes the power, South Florida stands to be the big winner. They have money. They have things at NIL and that kind of thing, and that's what made Miami big in the first place, was that big city swagger. And they seem to have replicated that. They had a full house. It was played in Miami, I'm hoping. That stadium looked like a championship stadium. Miami looked like a team that could conduct a championship run. Does that mean they're going to win it? Hopefully there'll be 4 others. And they'll be a legitimate, top 4, like it should have been already. So you got the playoffs on paper and the real playoffs. Real playoffs, 4 teams. They never even had 4 good teams. Don't think that they suddenly grew 20. They didn't. There's still 4 good teams. Miami, in my opinion, is one of them. Georgia is one of them if they will play like it. They haven't played like it, and I'm not sure they will. But they have the talent. So does Alabama, and so does Texas. Texas A&M also should have that talent. There's a definite drop-off there. LSU. But the drop-off isn't that steep, and so the SEC goes down 8 teams that legitimately should fight for a playoff. Missouri should be thinking they can win a playoff. South Carolina has a shot every year. Tennessee should be a playoff team. I didn't even mention them. But has the SEC shown us even one team that looks like a legitimate top 4 team? I mean, that's kind of what we're saying. Forget the 12 team. the top four, one of those guys is going to win it. So Ohio State and Oregon seem to be in the club. The Big Ten has 2 automatic qualifiers. SEC normally has 2 in Alabama and Georgia, or, LSU can step up just as good, and so on and so on. But the SEC looks a bit ragged. The quarterback at Texas probably isn't going to get them to the playoffs. Georgia, who knows what Gunnar Stockton will do over the course of a season. Georgia could score, or they could have trouble like they did against Notre Dame. So Georgia really hasn't shown that they're really playoff material. They'll get credit for it, but we're smarter than that. We're not going to give them credit till they earn it. Have they earned it yet? I don't think so. I haven't seen 4 quarters in one game. I want to see that. I want to see a team that plays even and steady. Miami did that. Miami's in. In the Arthur Woods playoffs, Miami's in until they disqualify themselves. And I'm not saying one loss would do that. It's more how they play. Georgia, Alabama, Texas, they'll probably end up making the playoff, but Georgia hasn't demonstrated that quality since Monken left. So understand how I'm measuring playoff caliber. I actually thought Georgia would go deep last year. I had no idea they weren't interested in really doing the playoff. But that's another story. Georgia's a lot closer to being Clemson than they realize. I talked about that. Georgia has something to prove. They just don't know it. And that was Devo's problem. He had something to prove after 2020, and he didn't know it. So, are they going to be 4 real championship teams? Still waiting for Penn State to make me say yes. Ohio State, they're in. Oregon, they're in. Nobody in the Big 12 is in. They might get the numbers, they might get the record. And the ACC, I haven't seen another one besides Miami that's playoff worthy. But they could give you a really good playoff game. If they have to score 50, they will. Guy and play tough D, they can. And if they just need to grind out a gutsy win like they did against Florida, when the defense is better than maybe they thought, they managed to win. That's what you're looking for, and I haven't seen one other than the automatic qualifiers. Like I said, Ohio State and Oregon, you just automatically qualified. Nobody else in the Big Ten has demonstrated that, despite what Indiana thinks. We'll talk about that a little, maybe. They beat Illinois. It might be a story there. Probably is. Britt Bulimia is always good for a news story, but he got beat 63-0. Ranked 9th, first time since in 2 centuries ever ranked. It didn't last long. Like a helium balloon, they put too much air in it. I'm not interested in that. We'll see if Illinois was a story. I'll let somebody else chase that one down. South Florida football re-emerging as a force, and Miami leads that edge. And when that happened, everybody else took a back seat. Miami could be doing that again. Georgia had that position, and they didn't seem interested in maintaining it. Clemson gave it up 5 years ago. And Alabama, it's just the world's not the same. That happens, and South Florida comes strong. They make it a lot harder for the Dabos and the Doughboys, the Beers, and the Kirby Smarts to rack them up like they used to.